Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, we'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 1 of the anime series, Gangsta. And this was just all kinds of freaking badass. A thorough badass opening episode, if there ever was one. And it's kind of reminding me of shades of all different kinds of anime series that I love and have gotten into, from Samurai Champloo, with sort of the character trifecta that comes together by the end of the episode, Michiko and Hatchin in the OP animation style, the emphasis on music between the OP and the ending animation, you know, the end credits. The female character, the main female lead, Alex, reminds me of Michiko herself from that series. The color palette is very reminiscent of like an Attack on Titan, and there's also sort of a very adult sense of the crime and criminal underworld element, akin to Black Lagoon. I mean, it has all these things going for it, and I immediately love that trifecta dynamic with the main threesome that is, the main characters of this series. Warwick, respectively, the blonde guy with the eye patch, Nicholas, and air quotes Tagger, as he is referred to by the police officer who hires them in this episode. He's a former soldier, thus the army tags, the dog tags, and he's deaf, and he's a katana-wielding all kinds of badass himself in his own right. He is lethal and cunning in that he can lip read because he is deaf. If you don't cover your face or your mouth, he can pick up on exactly what is being said and everything like that. And we're seeing that they are kind of like cleanup men or enforcers in a sense in this, city that has become so overtaken by crime and criminal elements, or punks as people are referring to them, that even the police force, because of procedural, stoppages and everything like that, they hire these guys to go in and take down drug pushers. In this case, this character, Barry Abbott. Like, don't get used to that name because he's gone in 5 minutes, with these guys on the job. And it's absolutely fascinating, of course, how the Alex character, who, is very much a strong woman, you can tell, but she's been having to sort of lay on her back to make ends meet, to survive, to fight to survive, and that involves, prostituting herself out and everything like that, working under the thumb of this guy, Barry Abbott. And, of course, we see that this cop, Officer Chad, and his partner, they're, basically sidled up in a cop car waiting for Warwick and Nicholas to show up on the scene, after which there's going to be an exchange of money. Take these guys out, do what you need to do, we'll clean up after, you don't have to worry about that. And I found that all absolutely fascinating and compelling, that these, they are enforcers in a sense, and cleanup guys, as I say, true to form, and they are so freaking badass and lethal. Basically you see Nicholas kind of taking it upon himself to go in and start whooping ass, beheading people, slicing them up with his katana blade, and Warwick actually gets kind of ticked off at him for doing that without waiting. I want a piece of the action too kind of mentality, but also a safety, situation, because Nicholas is deaf, as badass as he is. You don't want to run the risk of not hearing the enemy coming from behind or something like that. He's actually shocked when Warwick shows up behind him and starts blasting with a gun and everything, and he makes some claim about not being very good with it. I think it was, maybe something done on purpose on Warwick's part to prolong the suffering and the awareness of the Barry character, who then of course tries to bribe them with double the money, or take the drugs, take the woman, because there is care and concern for her well-being from this duo, these two badass guys. And we see that I was very surprised at how when she finally shows up on the scene, there's a moment where she's almost like, why did you guys have to be this vicious? Now I'm out of a job. How am I going to survive now? But then she picks up a gun, and I'm thinking, oh my God, is she going to try to kill herself? Is she going to try to shoot them? Obviously, Nicholas was thinking this because he readies the katana blade. But then she ends up pumping that lead into the Barry guy as he lays already dead on the ground. And you see the turmoil and what she's been through in that moment. Like, this is finally the fruition of that. She could finally express, just everything. All the emotions, from the relief of being out from under this guy's, ill-doing and his claim on her and everything like that, to just be almost like starting life anew and being cared and concerned for. She appreciates that just in a small almost, imperceptibly, insignificant moment like sharing a handkerchief with her because of the tears or the blood or whatever it is. And so, of course, by the end of this episode, they all come together, like I say, an impromptu trio, and they kind of hire her. She's still hanging around that doorstep that they can see, looking out of their little apartment or office, whatever it is, for, what they do, basically. And it's just absolutely captivating. She has been watching them as they've been watching her. She's learned the one sort of sign language, and that's another thing I really love about this. They are very visibly showing off that sign language. Now, I'm somebody who's not really familiar with it. I have a vague knowledge of certain sign language things, and so I don't know how much of that was actually... I'm assuming going into the creation of this series, they're going to follow it to the letter. And if somebody is, hearing impaired watching the series, they can probably pick up on everything being said by Nicholas. But I find it captivating and fascinating. I'm going to use those words time and time again to summarize this, in that, you have sort of acting as an interpreter, the Warwick character, but also for viewers who, as I say, are hearing impaired, they can pick up on it. So if you, the viewer, don't know the sign language, you have Warwick to interpret, or as we see toward the end of this episode, in the just pinnacle moment for me, the one that gave me goosebumps and was like thunderstruck, when they go back to this Officer Chad guy and they're like, you said we could keep the loot. Alex, this chick, she's part of that air quotes loot. We're taking her with us. And he doesn't want to let that happen. You have Nicholas, no interpretation needed. He comes out and he speaks. And then he frickin' kicks the cop car and almost sends it going completely over on top of itself. I was like dumbstruck by that sequence. And so we see that, these guys, they're honorable guys. They're taking out the criminal element, the punks that are infesting the city. Even the cops are hiring them and putting, trust and faith in them to do their job and to keep the streets and everything clean. And it was just like, damn, freaking awesome. I loved this first episode. First impressions right out of the gate. I can't wait to see the entirety of this series. You got me with this episode. And I can't wait to see what's next. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of Gangsta Episode 1. For those of you guys, I'm somebody who hasn't, followed the manga and the origin material and everything like that. So please no spoilers in discussions in the comments for this particular series. But whether you have a familiarity with that or not, let me know in the comments below what you thought of this opening episode. And for people who are uninitiated like myself, were you as rocked by it as I was? For people who are coming with that familiarity, who have read the manga and everything like that, did it live up to those expectations you had, knowing that this was going to be an anime adaptation of that work that you may or may not have loved? And so yeah, anything goes in the comments below. Love having the conversation with you guys. That'll be pretty much it for me on this. I can't wait to see episode 2. I wish I could fast forward a week ahead of time to get right into it already. And yeah, that'll be pretty much it for me. So I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.